Hello, a very good morning. Welcome to the Mega News, the 6th news coming to you from the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate, Nungwado. And we'll bring you news from the local through to the international front with many others. First, the headlines.
Government allocates 400 million Ghana cedis to acquire new Metromass and STC buses. In business, government to scrap 20% excise duty on locally made fruit juices at Toforsen. On the international front, ECOWAS reaffirms plans to launch single currency in 2027.
Details of these stories and more coming your way. My name is El Samuels. The news is also live across all our social media handles on MBN 360 after this break. Government has allocated 400 million for the acquisition of a high-capacity buses for branding in the country.
The Minister for Finance, Dr. Kezola Toforsen, announced the allocation during the presentation of the 2026 mid-year budget review in Parliament on Thursday, July 23. He said the investments will be used to strengthen the fleets of state-owned transport companies, including Metromass Transit and the State Transport Company, as part of efforts to provide safer, more reliable and affordable transport services for commuters. According to Dr. Toforsen, the intervention is part of government's broader plan to improve urban mobility by increasing access to efficient mass transportation systems, especially on routes with higher commuter demand. He explained that the introduction of additional high occupancy buses will help reduce the long queues experienced by passengers at bus terminals during peak periods and improve service reliability on urban intercity routes. The finance minister added that expanding the public transport fleet will provide commuters with a more dependable alternative to private vehicles and help reduce congestion on major roads. He noted that strengthening public transport infrastructure is critical to building a more efficient transportation system that can meet Guineans' growing mobility needs.
And still at the Finance Ministry, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kezola Toforsen, has announced that government will make financial provision in the 2027 national budget to implement a comprehensive and permanent solution to reoccurring flooding that continues to affect Accra and several other flood-prone communities across Ghana.
The announcement was made during the presentation of the 2026 mid-year budget review to Parliament on Thursday, July 23, where the Finance Minister outlined the government's response to the devastating floods that struck parts of the country on June 29 and its long-term strategy to address the challenge. According to Toforsen, the government recognizes the devastating human and economic impact of the annual flooding, which continues to claim lives, destroy homes and businesses, and damage critical public infrastructure. He noted that while immediate relief efforts remain important, the government is shifting its focus towards implementing lasting interventions that will significantly reduce the risk of flooding and protect vulnerable communities. He said the government responded promptly after the floods by providing emergency assistance to affected communities and coordinating relief efforts aimed at supporting victims and restoring normalcy. The announcement follows the severe floods that swept through several parts of Accra on June 29 after hours of torrential rainfall, leaving widespread destruction in their wake. the flooding submerged roads, homes, businesses and vehicles, disrupted economic activities and displaced numerous residents, while several lives were also lost in one of the capital's most devastating flood incidents in recent years. The disaster renewed public concern over Ghana's perennial flooding problem and prompted renewed calls for government to invest in long-term drainage infrastructure, improved urban planning, desilting of drains and stricter enforcement of regulations against building on waterways.
Now, moving on, the director of the National Counter-Terrorism Fusion Center, Major General Timothy Badtaba, says that terrorist attacks across Africa increased by 14% in the first half of 2026, with an average of 45 deaths recorded each day.
He further revealed that nearly 99,000 people have been killed in terrorist attacks across the Sahel over the past decade, describing the trend as deeply disturbing. Delivering the keynote address at the National Forum for this year's Sahel Peace Initiative in Accra, Major General Badtaba urged Ghanaians to remain vigilant and deny terrorists any opportunity to infiltrate the country. He noted that although the security agencies have put in place robust measures to safeguard the nation, public cooperation remains critical. He therefore encouraged citizens to support security operations by remaining alert and promptly reporting any suspicious activities to the appropriate authorities. In the space of 10 years, we had a total of 99,000 deaths, a product of a little over 23,000 attacks. So, on the average, on a daily basis, we expect that we will be having some 6 attacks within the sub-region, and then 25 lives most likely will be lost. And so, if you look at this and you describe it as an exaggeration, then maybe there is something that needs to be looked at, because we are talking about human lives.
Away from the local front, we turn our attention to the business desk, where the Minister, Dr. Kesler Forson, has announced plans to abolish 20% excise duty imposed on locally manufactured fruit juice introduced in 2023 as part of measures to support agro-processing and promote job creation.
The decision forms part of broader reforms under the excise duty bill aimed at improving efficiency in the tax system, closing revenue leakages, and supporting local industries. Presenting the 2026 mid-year budget review in Parliament on Thursday, July 23, Ato Forson said the removal of the excise duty on locally produced fruit juices is expected to reduce pressure on manufacturers and encourage growth within the agro-processing sector. He explained that government's review of excise duties was informed by concerns over inefficiencies in the collection of taxes on certain products, particularly wine and spirits. Under the new reforms, government will introduce a hybrid excise system combining value-based and quantity-based taxation for wines and spirits to address undervaluation and misclassification of imported products. The minister again stated that government will also review the existing sliding scale excise rates for beer and stout products while strengthening compliance through mandatory electronic registration of stock kits, a nationwide track and trace system, and stricter penalties for violations.
For the integrity of Ghana's customs administration. To curb the abuse of warehousing, Mr. Speaker, government will introduce statutory maximum warehousing period as follows: perishable goods, 3 months; general goods, 6 months; raw materials, 12 months. Re-warehousing, Mr. Speaker, will be restricted to a maximum of 6 months, ending the practice of rolling warehousing. In addition, every bonded warehouse will be required to operate electronic inventory system linked to customs to enable real-time monitoring and audit control. Mr. Speaker, these are not merely administrative adjustments. They are structural reforms designed to accelerate revenue collection, reduce port congestion, improve compliance, and provide greater certainty for legitimate businesses. Government is also introducing the first port duty rule. Under this reform, Mr. Speaker, duties and taxes on goods declared for transit will become due at the first port of entry, removing one of the biggest avenues for false declaration and revenue leakages. Mr. Speaker, this simply means, Mr. Speaker, if you are to bring in something and you are to inform the customs official that the goods is destined to say Burkina Faso customs will be at the Tema port to collect their taxes before you move. This will end the practice of a punchy break. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, appropriate customs to customs arrangement with destination countries will ensure that legitimate transit trade continues seamlessly whilst protecting Ghana's revenue.
On a world front, the Economic Community of West Africa, ECOWAS, has reaffirmed plans to launch a single currency in 2027, but the bloc says it's leaning towards a phased rollout with countries meeting convergency criteria such as inflation, debt and monetary stability joining first.
The news was announced in a communique following Saturday's ECOWAS Heads of States meeting in Sierra Leone. The single currency, dubbed the ECO, is being presented as a way to deepen regional integration and support sustainable and inclusive growth. The legal registration of the ECO trademark is in progress, but important questions remain unresolved, including whether members of the West African Economic and Monetary Union who use the CFA francs will be included at the start. ECOWAS says several issues will still need agreement, particularly around the future central bank, decision-making rules, and which countries will start first. The launch of the ECO will also have to contend with West Africa's changing political landscape as Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have left the bloc but remain within the West African Economic and Monetary Union. Consultations are continuing, and a key task force meeting is expected before the December 2026 summit.
And that's it for all this morning's Mega News 6 live and direct from our studios. But before we take leave of you, we take a second look at the stories making headlines.
Government allocates 400 million Ghana cedis to acquire new Metro Mass and STC buses. In business, government to scrap 20% excise duty on locally made fruit juices at Oforsen. On the international front, ECOWAS reaffirms plans to launch single currency in 2027.
Thanks for staying with us. For more news, log on to MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. Up next is the sports update. Good morning.